So why did I take this book on Magnus Carlsen? Because the reality is Magnus Carlsen plays too much. You don't know which games to play. I remember once I tried to download some games from Lichess because he was playing there. I don't know what happened. First time he had like 3,000 games, by the end he had more than 10,000. And how do you watch 10,000 games? I tried to watch a 1 minute game. It took me more than half an hour. He was playing bullet 1 minute, and to understand his moves, the things behind, because I was curious in fact, it took me half an hour to analyze that game, which was beautiful at 1 minute. And I don't remember if it was a draw, but yet it was really deep, also if it was played in 60 seconds. Okay, I would like to show you game number 5 from this book, which is Carlsen against Shaposhnikov in Moscow, played in Moscow 2004. Carlsen began with d4, knight f6, c4, e6, very good, an Inso-Indian, knight c3, and bishop b4, and queen c2. Here I want to tell you that in fact I'm happy to see this game because I'm just studying this book by Nigel Davis, Inso-Indian and Queen's Indian defenses, which gives a complete repertoire for black, and so that's why I like it. And of course I pay attention to the games that I see in this opening because they help me a little. Okay, after 4 queen c2, there is a comment by the authors that write, this queen move, which has the aim to keep the queenside pawn structure intact, is one of the most common reactions to the Inso-Indian defense. Black continued with c5, but of course there was also castle or d5 as possibility, d takes c5, and bishop takes c5. I will not comment honestly the opening even further because I don't care. I would just like to see the game. Okay, knight f3, queen b6, very interesting, attacking f2, and here it says black provokes e2, e3 to prevent the development of the bishop at g5 or f4. However, as the further course of the game will show, it's just as well placed on the long diagonal. Okay, so what he says is that if you block me from developing on this diagonal, I will just play this, and so nobody cares. But it's an interesting thing, right? e3, a6. Of course, here it says the black queen is obviously misplaced, and so he prepares to retreat it to the more appropriate square of c7 by taking control of b5. Why? Because obviously the problem was this, so he doesn't want that to happen. But how does white continue? With b3, because obviously he wants to develop the pieces, and so also watching this Magnus game, I saw the fourth one with that beautiful attack, but what I really saw is development. Okay, this guy is developing the pieces, and that maybe is the recipe for success no matter what, especially for us club players. Queen c7, bishop b2. Again, as you can see, he starts to develop all the pieces. b6, bishop e2, bishop b7. Can you imagine what Carlsen plays now? This is kind of interesting. I mean, it's a game from 2004. And I want to tell you one thing. In reality, this move that you're going to see is a move that has received an entire book by New in Chess on that. It's g4. There is an entire book in chess that is dedicated to the fact that champions play this move, obviously in different circumstances. As usual, Carlsen resolutely tries to exploit the opponent's slightly retarded development, especially as in the previous round he had gained a powerful charge of positive emotions. The alternative was the quiet castle, but in this case black can begin rather unpleasant Paulsen-like counterplay with knight g4. So if he would have castled, black could have played knight g4. Not a good idea. Notice that, I don't know if you noticed too, but this seems a kind of hedgehog formation. So yeah, I think Carlsen did well to immediately attack. This is a sacrifice, right? But what is the reason for the sacrifice? The fact that where do you castle now? Do you really castle here with my open file? I don't know. Knight takes g4. The sacrifice has to be accepted, otherwise white's play is too simple. He would have played g5, knight e4, etc, etc. Read the book. Rook g1. So he has attacking, and this is not protected, right? At the same time, he has removed the rook from the diagonal. Knight takes h2. Boom! Great move, right? Great move, because it's protected by that. But what would you play now if you were white? Are you really going to take on h2? It doesn't make any sense, right? So eventually we must understand that white already had a plan to give up g4 and h2. He must have had a plan, right? And he had, because he played knight g5. For what has white given up to pawns, all his pieces are in play, apart from the rook on a1. So this is true, right? He's attacking, he has everything in play, as we can see, all the lines, right? So on the rook on a1, which needs only one move to be included, the one move obviously is castling. Black, on the other hand, has to solve the problems of both his uncastled king and, no less important, the knight on h2. So his king is still in the center, the knight on h2, which is cut off from its main forces. The fearless Ribka obsesses the position as equal, but in practice it is far more pleasant playing white. Yeah, obviously computers are amazing defenders, but in this case, I don't know. Yet black played a great move, knight c6, because obviously he tries to castle on the other side. White castled immediately. And of course here instead of castle there was a kind of sacrifice, which is not so clear. Please buy the book, because the authors analyze it, right? So how did black continue? With knight e5. This natural move, defending the f7 pawn and preparing queenside castling, is a mistake. In our computer age, concrete variations in chess increasingly take precedence over general considerations. Very many players, especially of the older generation, find it hard to accept this, especially since the variations are often such that they can hardly be found at the board when there is restricted time for thought. So here it says that black could have played an exceptional move, but he has a kind of big analysis to make. Practically the move is d5, and here there are up to 4 different responses that white can give and must be analyzed in order to justify this move. And so probably, depending on the time control that today are kind of short, maybe it was impossible to find or justify, because obviously a grandmaster generally tries to play a move that is justified, right? Otherwise you just get destroyed, especially if your opponent sees more than you. Okay, after knight e5, now what do you think white played? Because also that is a kind of interesting move, also if it's not given an exclamation point, right? The move is knight c e4. Why do I say it's interesting? Because it opens the diagonal for the bishop. He attacks this bishop, and I don't know if these two can be cut off, but let's see. Castle, knight takes e5, yep, b takes e5, and of course, by the way, queen takes e5 was bad, and the author put a line, but I urge you to analyze it because it's kind of simple, honestly, nothing special. Now, what do you think white played at this point? Again, we are not speaking of flashy moves, but moves that are needed to be played. What you want to do is to cut the connection, right? Because this is kind of out of play and it's in a dangerous position. Well, Carlsen played f4, but in the book they say that knight e4 was even strongest, and they give a line. So up to you guys to analyze knight e4, f4, after which there was knight e f3. Well, here it seems that Carlsen played knight takes f7, but it's given strangely as a dubious move, while knight takes f3 should have been the one to be played. I honestly don't know, because the line with knight takes f3 is more than 5 moves, so maybe it's a little difficult to visualize, while this seems kind of simple enough, right? And after knight takes g1, rook takes g1, we have knight f3, and again Carlsen follows up with a move that is not the best. It seems that the move that I would retain the most advantage was rook f1, but Carlsen took on g7, and after rook h g8, Carlsen plays knight takes d8, and here black could have had a chance if he would have played rook takes g7, because after which there was bishop takes g7 and queen takes d8. Instead he played queen takes d8, which is considered a mistake. Why it's considered a mistake? Well, it's up to you guys that are watching the video, because the point of showing you these great books is obviously to give you a review of the book and see if you like it, but at the same time it's important to try to understand why white plays one move, what could be your next move, because only in this way you can improve, otherwise you're just wasting time watching this video. So the move that white plays now is bishop f6. Incredible move, because if he takes, oops, and clearly there is a huge advantage for white. Now black played queen f8, attacking this, right? But the queen also penetrates deep in enemy territory, and of course if it takes on g7 is a kind of loss, so he played rook h8. And here again there are some choices. For example, rook f7 could have been good. Instead, Carlsen played queen g6, rook h1 check, king b2, and here we have rook g1, because the problem is here, right? Oops. So if you play this now, obviously it's a problem because it takes like this, right? Take is an advantage, so you cannot do that, right? What do you play here in this position? Again, not a flashy move, but a move that one needs to play, right, in order to defend himself. The move is bishop g5, and obviously black start to become tired, and this is why computers are so good, because they don't become tired, right? And here black misses the move that would have given him chances to save the game. The move is knight h4. Instead, black played rook takes g5, after which there is f takes g5, knight e5, okay, queen f6, queen d6, rook g8, and after rook king c7 there is king c3 and black resign. Okay, so up to you guys to eventually do some exercise and see how do you win in this position. Obviously the idea is that white has already an advantage, material advantage, a pass pawn that is going to become a queen. What do you do in this kind of position? It's desperate, position. In any case, I hope that you enjoyed this game from this book, Fighting Chess with Magnus Carlsen, written by Adrian, Mikhalchishin and Oleg Stetsko. Mikhalchishin is a FIDE senior trainer. He has a lot of books that are worth reading if you want to improve your chess, especially in the endgame. Thank you very much for watching.